Jeremy, your thoughts on a sweep up in Nashville?
Man, it was beautiful, man. And I think we talked about it last Friday, just their approach in that game Thursday and just how well they played and just how the team came together, especially after they got swept last weekend. That was a beautiful performance. And I think, to me, the biggest story of the weekend is Ty Floyd, man. To see him get that confidence back, and the old saying, sometimes going with your first mind is the best decision. And I think that's where this coaching staff was to start the season. They felt like Ty Floyd should be a weekend starter, and obviously it wasn't the best start to the season for him. But I think seeing him come into this lineup, obviously, and pitch the way he did. He got the off-speed pitches going now. He got the curveball going, got the changeup going, and that fastball is getting up to 95, 96. That was beautiful to see. And also the bats, man, the bats. That's kind of what we've been talking about all season long, and they were on full display over the weekend, especially on Saturday to score 21 runs in a game. I think that was incredible, and I think you got to tip your cap, obviously, to Collins. Obviously, Joe Bear had a good weekend, and Dylan Cruz. I think I texted you the other day about Dylan, man. That dude's unreal, and I think he was a little salty. He had a little 0 for 4 going, and what do you know? He hits another bomb. So that was exactly what this team needed. Now everything is back into play. I know you never want to predict sweeps, but to go into Nashville and sweep that Vanderbilt team who had just as many aspirations as you and were right on the bubble to you, right next to you, and they really, could have really done some damage on the weekend. To go there and sweep them, I think that was huge for this team. And now you're going to see teams, really, really scared to play this LSU lineup in the postseason. If they're going to swing the bats like this, I don't think anyone wants to play this team right now.
Look, I came on the air Monday after they had been swept by Ole Miss. I said I thought they lit their postseason on fire because I just didn't think that they were in a position to go on the road and win a couple of weekends. Certainly, that's possible. In this sport, it is possible, and I never counted that out. My opinion was that you had knocked yourself to a resume spot where you very likely weren't going to go get it done in Nashville, and you were probably going to have to go on the road, and it looked like a team that wasn't going to be around very long. And I was just dead wrong, and that happens. It's just part of it. I was thrilled to be as dead wrong as I was. You just mentioned it. LSU and Vanderbilt were both right there on the host bubble. They had good parts of their resume, questionable parts of their resume, and the Tigers just went there and just absolutely slugged for 3 days. And that is something that we have hammered home on this show is when you look at this offense statistically, you look at the personnel that this offense has, they're going to be the best offensive team in the park unless Tennessee shows up. That's just the reality of it. They are that good on the offensive side of things. Now, they are hurt. Trey Morgan can't run. Jacob Berry can only hit from one side of the plate. He's got an ice bag on the other hand now. Obviously, what happened with Cade Doty, and we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. They're banged up big time, but the talent level is off the charts. And it's not just one guy or two guys. Of course, Cruz went nuts. He game two, he leads off the game with a monster blast and then homers again in the second inning. And I thought they wouldn't pitch to him the rest of the weekend. Turned out they did, but they had to pitch to the rest of the guys too. And Thompson goes 7 of 15 with a homer, scored 5 times, had 4 RBIs. Joe Bear 6 of 12, 3 homers and 10 RBIs. Cruz was 7 out of 14 with 3 homers and 9 driven in. McManus gets in on the long ball train. It's a lot of guys that can really, really hit, and they did it. But you mentioned Ty Floyd. He goes 5 1/3, only allows 1 run, struck out 7, didn't walk anybody. That was huge, and that's a good Vanderbilt offense that you're facing. It's not as prolific as some of the teams they've had, but you're talking about a top 5 batting average in the SEC, and he really, really was good. And so I don't think necessarily that you've got an ace or a 2 or guys that you can go out there and get it done. You don't have Lang and Poche going into a weekend. You don't have Lang, Poche, Walker going into the weekend like they've had in some years past. But there are some options. You just got to hope those guys are starting to play their best baseball here down the stretch. They certainly did over the weekend. Was there anybody else that kind of stood out to you as far as the weekend went where LSU sweeps in Nashville?
Yeah, to me, I love the way Cranford swung the bat on Saturday. I thought, obviously, he's a guy normally, you're going to see Coach Johnson try to lay some bunts down, try to move some runners around. But I thought seeing him, swing the bat well at the bottom of the lineup, I thought that was really good to see. Obviously, McManus, he hit a big bomb over the weekend. It's like this lineup is just filled with so much power, man. You go 1 through 7, 1 through 8. A lot of those guys, man, they're swinging the bat really, really well. So I think for me, the biggest takeaway is just I seen the approach change from Ole Miss weekend in the box. I think they really swung at great pitches over the weekend, and obviously they took a lot of great balls too. So if you're going to have that approach from the whole lineup that you're facing, it's going to be tough for any pitcher to get through this lineup time and time again, especially at this point in the season.
I was critical on Friday of the staff for throwing Eric Raiselman 56 pitches in Game 1. I hated it. You were up by 11 runs in that game, and you send him back out there for the ninth inning. It's not something they've done all year. They've kept it right around 30, so guys were available. And this was game one of a series you knew you had to go take care of business in because you were right there on the bubble. And to compromise him and then to essentially, that was his whole weekend. That was it. I hate it. And then I tweeted back on Saturday in game three. I mean, you fell behind 6-0, but then you got a 3 spot in the third to cut it to 6-3. You got another one in the sixth to make it 6-4. I would have loved to have had Raiselman there instead of going to Fontenot or Money or some of the guys that haven't been as consistent this year. That was a huge spot, I thought, and to not have him, I hated. Obviously, I wasn't really anticipating the fact that LSU was going to score 11 runs in the eighth inning. And what was amazing to me about that 11-run eighth inning was the fact that LSU did it off of Thomas Schultz, who was one of the best closers in the Southeastern Conference. If you were watching on mute or had it in the background or just looked up the box score, just saw, maybe you don't know who this guy is that Vanderbilt went to, but they hadn't used their closer in the first 2 games because they were getting crushed, so they held him. Well, they bring him in to close out the 7th. He gets a ground ball, and then he comes in for the 8th. He hits Cranford. Cruz reaches on a fielder's choice to third. Pearson singles. Stevenson sack bunt. Morgan's intentionally walked. Then Doty singles to the left side. Thompson singles to right field. Then Joe Bear hits a grand slam. Cranford doubled down the line. Cruz walked. Pearson walked. Then another bunt from Stevenson. Morgan singled through the right side. This is all off of one of the best closers in the conference, and LSU lit him up like a Christmas tree. That's one of the things we questioned early in the season, not hitting these aces, not hitting some of these top flight guys. Now, all of a sudden, you look up, and LSU's seen some pretty good arms over the last 3 weeks, and they've done some damage against them, which is a good thing.
Yeah, they've definitely done a lot of damage, and I think we kind of saw that, talking about their pitching, like, okay, they're not going to pitch one of their best weekend stars, and obviously you talked about the damage they did to their closer. This makes this lineup extremely scary, and I think for me, another thing that I was super, super worried about going into this weekend was Bradfield, and I thought they did a great job neutralizing him and not allowing him to score runs and obviously get on base a ton and really, steal bases, do all those things that we were kind of worried about. So I think for me, you really got to tip your cap to this baseball team. I think they played a solid weekend, and that's exactly the brand of baseball that you want to be playing at this time of season.
I'm looking to see if he had a stolen base on the weekend.
I don't remember one, man. I don't remember him getting one.
I don't either. I'm looking. I don't even see stolen bases on here. So, but yeah, I don't know that he stole a base all weekend. He did score a couple of runs in the third game. He had a hit and walked. But I don't. They did a great job of neutralizing him, and he's a scary, scary dude. And LSU did a great job of neutralizing him. So that is huge. You look at now the SEC standings as things are done. LSU does earn the 4 seed in the Southeastern Conference, so they will get a bye on Tuesday, which is huge. If LSU wants to bolster the resume, all of a sudden it can be gone in a second on Tuesday. Now you're at least there for 2 days, and you're going to have a chance to rack up some good RPI wins, which is a very good thing. You look at the SEC West, A&M wins the West at 19-11. Arkansas finishes at 18-12. Tigers in third place in the West at 17-13, half a game ahead of Auburn at 16-13. I apologize. I did not bring this up on Friday. I missed this somehow. I feel like I do a reasonable job of covering this deal and getting all the. I did not see that Alabama and Auburn got rained out in Game 3 of their series, and I was wondering why the numbers weren't adding up. And then I went back and looked. Well, there it is. So Auburn finishes 16-13, only 29 conference games. Ole Miss 14-16. Alabama finishes 12-11, and the defending national champions in their season on an 11-game losing streak. They finish 9-21 in conference play. Over in the East, Tennessee wins the conference at 25-5. Nobody else in the East over 500 in conference play. Florida and Georgia both at 15-15. Vanderbilt at 14-16. South Carolina 13-17. Kentucky 12-18, and Missouri at 10-20. Why do I bring up Missouri? Why?
Thanks so much for watching Hun Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. We'll see you next time.